This is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network, now in its 7th year. Talk like you've never heard it before.
I'm Alex. That's the big red letters. The white letters, it's the name of the program. It's called The Ramble. And we're coming to you from New York, and we'll be here till midnight. Ladies and gentlemen, Larry Bubbles Brown. Hello, Larry.
Hello, Alex. I understand you are being flooded and we're on fire, so we need to exchange our...
It's too yeah. That's my stupid human tricks there that I can do.
What? Yeah, you could have done SpongeBob.
Oh, really? Does SpongeBob talk like that?
You probably should. Yeah.
See,
it's very similar to that.
I mentioned this the other day to a friend of mine who would understand it, Shecky. I used to listen to radio a lot when I grew up, right? There was no TV. Yeah, folks, there was no TV. Did you hear that? Okay. There was no TV when I was growing up. There was radio. And on some show, and I can't remember who it was. It might have been Fibber McGee and Molly, but I can't remember what it was. There was a guy named Mr. Ripple. And he would talk like this. But I didn't realize he was doing it with his fingers. Okay, like this. I thought he was doing it with his mouth. So I taught myself to talk through my uvula, which is that little thing, you know, that mice in cartoons use with cats when they're swallowed. They use them as a punching bag.
Right.
That's how I describe the uvula. It's the human punching bag. And I started talking to make that uvula go back and forth. Okay, so I can do it without my fingers going back and forth. Most everybody else, when they try and do that kind of like underwater voice, use their fingers. So.
Yeah, you should have done cartoon voices. You could have made a fortune.
I wanted to, but I just never, you got to, for some reason, you got to be in the right place at the right time to start doing that sort of thing. And I wasn't in the right place at the right time, so, yeah.
Well, we know some people that were. Tom Kenny.
Carlos Alice
Rocky, yeah.
Yeah. People who were comedians, but they don't need to be anymore. I mean, what? I would imagine Kenny's worth millions.
Yeah, definitely.
He's the voice of He's the voice of SpongeBob, folks.
And he told me it was supposed to last 3 years, and now it's been on for 20. So.
It's been on for 20. He's probably gotten continual raises on it. He's gotten his pension from AFTRA, or SAG, or whoever is his union. He's got a whole bunch of things going, so he's set for life.
Yeah, he's a good guy, so I feel good.
Oh, yeah, yeah. No, I only am happy for him. Okay.
And he was really good at those voices too. He's amazing.
Yeah. But I mean, that was his thing. I don't know how he fell into it, to be honest with you. He just fell into it. And
I don't either. He's such a strong comic. He told me he didn't miss doing stand-up at all. So
I hear that a lot from people who do stand-up. I mean, I think that you have to be pretty dedicated to stand-up to enjoy it. And I think a lot of people just do it because, well, they're funny and that's a profession for them. And, oh, hey, I don't have to do it anymore? Fine. I don't want to have to stay up late at night to do my profession.
Well, I think that's one reason Steve Martin said he got out, because he said to stay at that level, you have to work so hard.
Well, I think what he said is that he said you have 45 minutes, okay? And then you have another 45 minutes, maybe, if you're lucky. Mm-hmm. And if you're really good, you can come up with another 45 minutes. Was that a pretty decent assessment of the business?
Oh, that's exactly what he said. He said because the newer comics try to write a new hour every year, and Martin said the greatest comics have 2, maybe 3 hours of material.
And that was
That's
it. And he felt that when he had gotten to that much material, there was no more. So he didn't want to continue doing stand-up because he knew it would only suck.
So he quit on top. You got to commend him for that. And
Yeah.
I don't think has anyone ever burst out bigger as a stand-up than he did. I mean, that was like a Beatlemania when he hit.
Yeah, as for that kind of popularity, no. I mean, I would say that you have some comedians who are very popular. What's his name? The black comedian.
Chappelle.
And Seinfeld. You know, they both of them can draw huge audiences, but it's not that kind of manic thing. That
was like a rock thing.
Well, Martin, it had to be. I would imagine one of the reasons he quit is it got too easy. You know, when we've talked about this before, that when you as a comic get up in front of an audience and you start performing, it's really a war between you and them. You know.
But yeah, that's definitely a battle. You got to prove yourself.
You got to
feel like you're in a fight.
And you don't have to prove yourself like once in a lifetime. You've got to prove yourself twice a night.
Right.
You got to go out there to a completely strange group of people, go out there again to another strange group of people, and you then got to sell yourself to them. Now, they're on your side. They want to laugh. They just paid like $40 to get in to laugh, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you know, they want to laugh, but nevertheless, they've got their arms folded too. Like, okay, come on, make me laugh.
Yeah.
You know. And that's the hardest part. And I think that he just felt that it was too easy for him at that point. If he just went, well, excuse me, they would all laugh. Now, there's nothing funny about, well, excuse me. But to this audience who knew him from that catchphrase, it was gold. You know.
Yeah. And he'd been around for, I think he hit big like a year or two after Watergate, and they said the country was just ready to be silly at that point. So I think the timing was really good.
The timing was good, and he basically, what he had done with his career is he was a writer. You know, he wrote
for the Smothers Brothers,
the Smothers Brothers, and so on. And he occasionally would appear on screen in some routine or whatever, because they would call on the writers to, you know, be in a sketch. And it was, you know, I mean, he really did he worked on that, and then I don't know when the transition went to comedy. All of a sudden, one day, he was a comedian. He was a stand-up.
He was the first live comic I ever saw for $5 in August of '76. I saw him at the boarding house.
Really?
He had a cult following then. I remember that. And then, like, less than a year later, that's when he was huge.
Now, the boarding house, that was a comedy club in San Francisco that
on Bush Street.
I don't think it was even around by the time I started doing radio there, you know.
Yeah, I think it was gone by, that was '76 when I saw him. It might have been gone by 1980, 81.
Really? Yeah, then that's about the time that I got there. Yeah. And
right, yeah.
But it's a shame it had to close down because, I mean, they were on the cusp of having this whole comedy thing going on in San Francisco. I mean, the comedy
they closed at exactly the wrong time.
Exactly the wrong time. Prior to Alex Bennett. Yeah, you know, I mean, I came to town, and for some reason, I became the promoter of comedians. I mean, it was a lucky thing on my part. It was an accident. I never, you know, I never ever said, here's what I'm going to do with my show. I just let it happen. And what happened was somebody said to me, hey, I got this friend. He knew you. He didn't know you, but he knew of you in New York, and he'd really like to be on your show. And I said, what's his name? And he said, Bobby Slayton.
Wow.
So I said, okay, have him come down some morning. So he came down, and we did this thing where I talked to him and he talked to me. And then in those days, I had to play some records, so I played some records, and then we got back to talking again, and it worked really well. I'm wondering if it was Slayton or whether it was Jeremy Kramer that I had on first, and he turned me on to Slayton.
Okay.
That could have been. I think I had. Somebody said, you want to have this comedian on? Yeah. See, this is how old I'm getting. I can't remember these exact things in what order they took place in. But I think there was a salesman or somebody at the station who said to me, I know this comic, his name is, it's Jeremy Kramer. And would you like to have him on? I said, what the hell, I'll try anything. And Larry came on, Jeremy came on, and it was really good, So I said, do you have any other comedians you know? And he says, yeah, Bobby Slayton. And then Bobby Slayton came on. That was how it happened.
Okay.
And then I said to Slayton, you know anybody? And he said, there's this guy working pretty good. His name is Dr. Gonzo. And I started having Gonzo on the show. And before you knew it, there was this whole cast of characters, the Pearls, the Kravitzes, Bubbles Browns. What's a Bubble Brown? Yeah. Bubbles are brown.
I never did the Camel station with you. The first time I did your show was January '83. It
had to be. It had to be at the Quake.
That was the Quake.
Because I have a photograph with you at the Quake. Yeah.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. I have you. I think you were there when Robin was there. The morning Robin was there.
No, I wasn't there, but I remember I've seen pictures of that where the place was just mobbed. I think I was on with Steve Pearl.
Pearl was in that picture, though. Kramer brought Robin by. But anyway, this whole thing just kind of developed like that. And before I knew it, any comedian who came on the show and was playing somewhere then sold out. Because what you got to do was you came on the show, you proved you were funny to the audience, and the audience went, I got to go see this guy.
Yeah, and then you started doing. Do you remember your first live show you did with comics?
Oh, jeez. I think we didn't do that at the Quake. We did that at Live 105. And I think the first one was the Punchline, if I remember correctly. Or maybe it was even a Supper with Schwartzman. No, I think the morning shows came first, the Punchline shows. And then we started doing Supper with Schwartzman every Christmas from the Fairmont Hotel.
Those were fun.
And the Venetian Room.
Yeah.
I love that because my father worked the Venetian Room with Ernie Hector's orchestra. It was such a classy place. Too. Yeah, with Ernie Hector's orchestra. And so here I was finally years later working the Venetian Room in the Hotel St. Wait a minute. It was the Mural Room in the St. Francis Hotel. Yeah, it was. My father played the Venetian Room in the Fairmont Hotel. God, I'm out of it today. Do I sound out of it? No.
Just on that one sentence.
Yes, it was the Venetian Room at the Fairmont. And so I worked there, and we did that on at Christmas time. And they were big shows. We had a full orchestra and everything. And one comedian.
Those are the best, yeah.
And musical performances and all kinds of. It was a great show.
It was, yeah.
Do you remember the show where we almost lost part of our audience?
Let's see. Trying to remember.
You don't know what I'm talking about, do you?
No.
There was a plane crash. There was a plane coming up from L.A.
Oh, that's a PSA.
PSA.
That was December 7th, 87.
It was a huge crash, and it killed everybody on board.
Yeah.
We flew up advertisers from L.A., and they were on the plane just before it.
Wow.
Nothing, we really would not make much headway with the advertising community if you killed an entire group of advertisers. You know, you'd be considered the jinx station. Instead, we were kind of considered the non-jinx station because these people didn't die.
Yes, that was a disgruntled employee got on the PSA plane and went up to the cabin and shot the pilot.
You're right. I forgot what went on behind it. I just remembered the crash. Yeah.
I remember there was a sad story. There was a flight attendant. She was like 19 or 20. It was her first flight, and she was on that plane.
Oh, boy. How do you remember this stuff? You're just amazing.
I used to remember airplane crashes pretty well. So that was that should have been. I think it was December 7th, 87.
What's the last sentence in every transcript of plane crashes from the black
Sound
box?
of impact.
Sound of impact. I never got that. How do you hear the sound of impact?
I wonder what it sounds like.
Well, you only get half the sound of impact because then the whole plane all the electricity has gone out of it, and the black boxes cease to work. Right? They don't keep recording. In fact, you had this book of black box transcripts.
Yeah.
And the last...
We read them on the air one day. It was like an acting class.
Yeah, and the end of every one of them was sound of impact. I wonder what that sounds like.
I just like the one where they're lost. This is it wasn't a big plane, but they were over Texas and somewhere, and one of the co-pilots says there's a mountain around here at 4,500 feet, and the pilot says, the captain says, "What's our altitude?" He says, 45, hun, and the sound of impact.
I mean, I shouldn't laugh.
No,
but the people died, but oh boy. So what about plane crash?
I got to find that book again. I've actually got some. I'll forward it. I actually have some audio of some crashes I can send you.
Oh, okay, do that. If you know how to send it to me through the...
I can forward. Someone sent them to me, so I can forward it to you.
Oh, okay. All right. So anyway, it really was, you really loved plane crashes. That was your... What is it about plane crashes? Why not?
Oh, that was I was so afraid I was all going to die, and I became obsessed with plane crashes. So.
Yeah.
Every time I went to a gig, I was absolutely convinced I was going to die on a plane. I still got on, but I was absolutely convinced it's horrible. I hated it. Now I don't care anymore. I'll get in a plane.
Well, what among comics, the most common topic for comics are airplanes. I mean, everybody talks about. Every comedian has a bit in their. Do you have one in your? Do you have one in your act?
No, I don't.
But they all have something about airplanes.
When I started, everyone had a bit about flying.
And the reason they did was because they all flew.
Mm-hmm.
And so they all had a different take on what it was like to go flying and the horribleness of the flying and how terrible it was, And funny thing about the airplanes, they take a trip and
even though going back then, flying looks like paradise compared to flying now with the TSA and all that crap you got to go through.
Oh, then you didn't say, "Hey, we have to get there early because TSA may be taking forever," right? You just walked on the plane. That was it. You ran for the plane.
You didn't have to show an ID to buy a ticket.
That's right. You just got on the plane and you sat there, and there was a very nice, amiable, as we called them, they now call them flight attendants.
They were stewardesses.
They were stewardesses then. And it was always a stewardess. You never had men. If there was one, you went
hot.
Yeah, right. And they used to fire them if they gained too much weight.
Yeah, they did. They had a thing like they had to watch their weight very carefully.
Yeah, and I think part of the reason they watched their weight on this was because there was a tendency for the planes to get too overbooked. And if you had fat stewardesses, you could only fit so much weight on the plane before it had trouble taking off. So, but anyway, they used to make a big deal out of that. And, of course, the stewardesses finally went nuts and said, we're not going to put up with this anymore. This is sexist.
And it was.
And it was, but it was really nice eye candy for us while we were in flight.
Yeah.
And they treated you very nice. Would you like a pillow? You know, now.
Yeah, you're just treated like cattle now. It's horrible.
Yeah.
Going to the slaughterhouse.
By the way, it's mealtime. Here you go. Here's the steak, and here's the, you going. And this isn't even first class. In first class, you got like filet mignon.
Yeah.
And cooked to your taste. How would you like it? Rare. Okay, we'll bring it to you rare. I mean, I don't know how they did that, but they did that. And they cooked it all in the air. But those were the days for flying. Those were the days when you flew, many people wore a suit or a very fine, nice dress.
Yeah, now it looks like a flying, like a Greyhound bus with wings. So.
Yeah. And some guy with his pig in the seat next to him.
Yeah. And before they deregulated airline travel, you could get, if you went to the airport, you had a ticket on TWA, and you missed that flight, you could just go over to American and just take the fly to the same city here.
Right.
It was just an even exchange.
Right. Now you can barely get on the plane. I mean,
yeah.
It's insane.
It's not fun.
It's not fun, and that's why I don't look forward to flying in a plane anymore. I used to look forward to it. Oh, we're going to fly tomorrow. That's going to be great. I get on a plane, and they serve me, and they give me a pillow, and, and that was just coach. You didn't even think about business class. Didn't matter, you know. Coach.
I always wanted to fly first class in the 747s because they had that little spiral staircase. Remember, they had 2 levels.
Oh yeah, when I was flying to Europe, I had a woman I knew at TWA, and she said, anytime you're flying anywhere, just get a hold of me, buy a coach ticket, and I'll upgrade you to first class. So I went over to Europe with my girlfriend at the time, and I called her, and sure enough, we got first class over and back.
Wow.
Okay, and it was on a 747. And we got the seat. In those days, you went up the stairs, and there was a bar up there. By the time I took the 747, they had done away with that. You just went up the stairs, and there were seats there. And that was a great place to sit. You were right behind the pilot. You could, every time they opened the door, you'd see the pilot in there. And it was just great. It was terrific. Those planes were huge. They're just huge.
Pilot was 60 feet above the ground.
The what?
60 feet above the ground.
Really?
Yeah.
How do you know? How do you know these things?
I used to love flying.
You used to love flying.
Those 747s, they were huge.
Yeah. They're no more anymore, are there?
They're they haven't made them for years. They're going out of. There's still a few flying, but
they're pretty old.
4 engines. They suck a lot of fuel.
And more than that, they're old.
They broke into service in January 1970.
Isn't it amazing that there's some planes out there flying that are like 25, 30 years old?
Yeah.
And they're still flying. They made them right. Somehow we can't get them to stay up in the air with the new ones for more than 5 minutes.
I know. I don't want to get on the new 737.
Yeah. So I mean but God, I just never knew I could sit here and talk about airplanes with you, and yet that's another one of your little.
Hard to believe that. Jet travel's been with us since I think 1950. The British had the first one, the de Havilland Comet, which turned out to be a disastrous plane. But so that's been
listen to him, folks. Listen
travel.
to him. He can tell you the name of the first plane that jet travel started with.
And 70 years ago, the one thing that hasn't changed: the planes are no faster than they were then.
Another little trivial fact, folks, that you only get here. Hey, listen,
except for the SST, the Concord, which is no longer with us. But
yeah.
did you ever fly that?
I don't know. I just got on the goddamn plane.
That's the one that went twice the speed of sound. So.
Oh no! I never got on that. You're talking about the one that used to go to London.
Yeah, like in 4 hours.
In 4 hours, yeah. If it went any faster, you get there before you took off. Really, but incredible. That was also good, I think, for people who didn't want to suffer jet lag.
Yeah, it was great.
It was fast enough that you pretty much landed about an hour after you took off. So the jet lag wasn't a big problem. Hey, listen.
They had one in the 70s that flew around. They went around the world on New Year's Eve, so you could celebrate New Year's in every time zone of the world.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Larry. We'll talk to you next week. Larry Bubbles Brown.
Your pilot, Larry Bubbles Brown.
This is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network, now in its 7th year. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Hello, everybody. How are you? Okay. I'm doing okay myself. I've been sleeping all day. I don't know what it is, man. I put on the TV set and it knocks me out. It's like become a sleeping pill for me. It's ridiculous. Let me just get a few things here set up so that I can see them. Yeah, there we go. Listen, I got to talk to you about something. The last couple of nights, or the last week or so, maybe 2 weeks, the listenership on the video has been really low. And we do this thing. We started this thing out as an audio show, and we added the video. When it turned out that I was taking people by Skype, and I was seeing them anyway, so I may as well broadcast their pictures as well. And I did. And the reason it became a video show was simply for that reason. It was meant to be an audio podcast. And was for the longest time. I think it was only like Friday nights we used to do the video version. But then along comes Zoom, and along comes a lot of other things, and it got more and more sophisticated, and I started doing this thing on video, and it was available on YouTube, and I started doing it that way. And we used to have a pretty decent-sized audience, not huge, not by, the standards of some of the other people on the internet, but nevertheless, it was pretty good. Well, in recent weeks and the last couple of months, it's been nosediving on people watching the video, and I was feeling very depressed about that nobody was listening to the show. And then I went over, and I hadn't checked in the longest time my audio only downloads on the show, and I looked it up, and lo and behold, I was amazed at what I saw. I saw numbers for people listening to the audio at a rather large number. For instance, on the 3rd, I got a number that was 2 times as large as the people watching the video. And it was significant, too. I got a pimple on my tongue, so if I sound funny when I'm talking tonight, please excuse me. Anyway, it was significant, and I said to myself, well, maybe there's no sense in really promoting the video version of the show. People are really listening to the audio-only version. They get that through YouTube. They get that through our GabNet site. Those are the versions that are audio-only. Also, a lot of the shows that are on the various other services like Spotify and so on are the audio-only shows as well, and not the video. And I started thinking, well, maybe I should just stop really pushing and promoting the video version of this. That I can post it to, I'll do it in video because it's obvious that it's the easiest way to do it. It's there. If I suddenly didn't do video and did audio only, I'd still be looking at these people. So we may as well have a video version of it. So the video version is a very natural thing, but the audio version gets vastly more listeners than I'm getting with the video, at least these days. So I decided that I post this thing in video on Facebook, and it isn't worth my time to do it. It's not even worth the trouble of pushing a few buttons that makes it happen. This show goes out on, and is right now going out on YouTube, and when it's over with, YouTube automatically makes it into a file you can watch at any time. The other file that I make for it is a secondary file that is just the recording only of the show, and not the actual. It's the actual show we did, but it's just not like the one that YouTube puts up. You get what I'm saying? So I do two versions of it, and then that one goes as a. I got an itchy nose tonight. Excuse me, folks. I hate it when I do this. But my nose gets itchy, and then I have to scratch it, and then I don't want to make it look like I'm picking at it, but there's like a hair I'd like to be able to pull out of it right now, but I can't do that. Anyway, where was I? So anyway, I mean, the point I'm trying to make is, and I'm still a little loopy from the shot I got. Not terribly, but still loopy from it. So I don't know what to do. So what I'm going to do probably is not post it anymore to Facebook. See no reason to do that. Makes no sense to do it. A very minor amount of audience listens to it there, and again, it's not worth the amount of clicks that I have to do in order to put it up there. I'll still put up the obviously the version that goes out on YouTube as the recorded show, the show that was done here. I will keep, and then I edit that later on in the day in order to chop out all those commercials at the very beginning, and I'll also do that other version for the time being, and I will put that up on the on-demand and also on the gabnet.net page. But basically, more people listening to this as audio only and not as video, and I see no reason to continue it on Facebook as an example, and I may stop the secondary version that I do and just not post that to the Gabnet, and to the Gabnet site I will post the others, although I don't know what I'm going to do yet with that. But the fact is, I'm going to put a minor consideration where the video is concerned, and if you ever want to just listen to it, you can use iTunes. You can go to Spotify. You can go to Pandora. You can go to anyone. They're on the. Man, I'm out of it tonight. I shouldn't even be doing these shows. All the different ways you can listen to this show and some of our other shows as well are listed at the top of the page on gabnet.net. Okay? All right. That being the case, I will go to our people who are waiting, and there aren't that many here. Also, the callers have been limited in the last week or so, and I'm getting tired of that too. So, it says, 3 people have entered the room. One says owner. Many times that's somebody who is a regular on the show, and yeah, here he is. It's our old friend, what's his name? Owner. Jason. Jason, why don't you just change that from owner, for Christ's sake?
And my wife just came in here and tried. She set it up and changed it because it was set at your iBook or iPad, whatever, my freaking computer name. She changed it, and it defaults back.
Watch this. Watch this. Hold on a second. I'm going to do something here. Rename Jason.
But see, Alex, every time you were talking about not having good numbers, I always told you, like, do you look at your audio? Because that's all I ever do. I don't, I can't call in because it's too late for me.
Yeah.
But I download your stuff every day. I use that Auto Alex, and that's sent to my computer every day, and I'd listen to you
Auto
while I'm
Alex.
at work.
I don't have Auto Alex, but
I'm just being a smart ass.
oh,
because
it actually you do kind of get it sent to your computer when you want it by using iTunes.
Yeah.
It's always there. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, no, you're right. I think more people listen. Well, obviously, you're right, because I was looking at and I hadn't looked at the numbers in a long time, and then I looked at it, and I went, oh, we had like, I think it was the third or something. We had something like, I don't know, 350 people who listened to it in audio, and only about 200 that watched it in video. So I mean, what does that say?
But there was 500.
And I think some of those I know where they're coming from, and so I can then post the video there. But I'm not going to do it on Facebook anymore. That's a waste of my time. I find that 25 people watch it on Facebook, so why should I post it there? So to all you people at Facebook, there we go.
Thanks.
Yeah. Oh, do you watch it on Facebook? Is that what happens? Really?
Once in a while. Yeah.
Jeff, well, you can always go over to the gabnet.net, and
Yeah.
you can watch it there, and you can watch it on iTunes, and you can watch it. There are a lot of other ways to watch it. Okay. Because it is posted to those other places. So.
Alex, we're only seeing you on YouTube.
Oh, really? Oh, I forgot. Yeah. See, I was.
Now you want to do audio? People are only going to hear us.
Yeah, that happens. Lately, I've just been screwing up terribly. That's another reason I'm thinking of maybe
Jeff, Jason, and Josh
cutting the show down to 1 day a week, because I've lost it. I've completely lost it. Tonight I consciously was doing everything right, and then of course I screw up on that. I get to talking, and then I go to the things, and I don't even look. Thank you so much, Brian, for telling me that.
Yes.
The old man is really fucking up a lot lately.
Alex, do you remember when instead of an hour and a half, we used to have 2-hour show?
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever look to see how that affected the number of people?
No, not really. It didn't really affect it much. Yeah. And it made my life a lot easier. But I don't know. I just find that I'm screwing up too much in the technical end of this. And I'm just starting to get to the point where I'm beginning to wonder if I just am losing it too much to keep doing this. Marjorie says keep doing it, though. It's the only thing that's keeping you alive. So
Stop when it's not fun.
Huh?
Stop when it's not fun.
Oh, well, that was years ago.
Yeah, but there's no listeners on the morning show, and you put that one on.
What do you mean no listeners on the morning show?
When we talk, there's like 7 people watching, and I'm usually one of them.
What do you mean the morning show?
On the Monday show.
Oh, the Monday show. Oh, well, no, watching at any given time, yeah. But that show, by the end of the week, has an incredible amount of people.
See, I wish you'd put that on iTunes also.
I don't put it up on iTunes. I really don't. Only because, why don't I put it on iTunes? I just don't. I should. I have an
I think
audio.
that's a good show.
I have an audio version I make of that show. And you can hear it on the 24/7, but you're right, I don't put it up there. However, if you do go to gabnet.net, I do up on the big blob at the very top of the right-hand side of the page. The video there it's posted there every Monday. So and I can't talk today because I got a pimple on the side of my tongue. You ever get those?
Isn't that herpes?
No, it's not herpes.
It's worse.
It's worse. It's cancer. Hi, Patrick. How are you?
I'm super duper.
You know, whenever you say that, you say, "Oh, I'm just super duper." You just don't sound it. You never sound like, "Wow, I'm super duper." No, I'm super duper.
I got no complaint. You know, I mean,
You got no complaints. Yeah, how's your week been going?
good. Went to get my oil change today,
Oh, see,
and
this is
there
what,
was not a mask in sight. Not required, not even mentioned. It was like fucking heaven. It was great. It was the best experience I've had in almost 2 years. So,
but why do you think it was that way? Have they done away with mask mandates in your state?
well, we got a governor that loves masks. He wants to put 12 of them on. I just think he can't mandate it. You only get a one-time deal a year in our state to mandate something like that. But no, the dealership doesn't require it. So there wasn't one person in working there or visiting. It was great. I loved it. It was fucking wonderful.
Did he require?
I was breathing the fucking air like nobody's business.
Yeah, but my question is this: does he in that little company of his require his people to be vaccinated or to be tested? And if not, you maybe should feel a little maybe put out, you know, that you might get it. In spite of the fact, you know, there are people who do get it still,
but,
even though they've had the vaccination.
Right. I mean, the glorious Dr. Fauci told us we're all cured if we get the vaccine.
No, he hasn't. He hasn't said that. He said we still should observe safety protocols.
Well, I know it changes. It changes week to week. I mean, it changes show to show.
Yeah, but you know, you can't use that as your argument because that, you know, of course it changes from week to week.
That's how science works.
It's how science works. Yeah, it's an ever evolving situation. You know.
I'm comfortable as I am.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm just thinking that I think about the guy who's running a business, and he's kind of putting his customers in danger.
They don't have to come there.
Well, maybe they don't.
They don't have to do business there.
Maybe they don't.
I mean, if I felt put out, I wouldn't have to.
Well, I mean, when they call and when you called and made an appointment to get your car lubed or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Did they tell you, sure, come on down, but let's warn you, nobody's required to wear masks here?
No, I asked them, are you requiring masks? And they said no. I said good.
Okay,
and
but they didn't offer
right.
it. They didn't offer it to you. I mean, they didn't offer the information.
And the thing is, nobody's forcing you not to wear a mask. I mean, if somebody wanted to wear 15 of them in a fucking plastic bag and, you know, a condom and everything else, they can do that.
Yeah.
Were the employees wearing masks? No.
What that?
Were the employees wearing masks?
No, nobody was.
Really?
There wasn't one mask that I saw.
Wow.
And that was in the service area as well as where the waiting area is, or out in the showroom. Not a mask in sight. It was great. So.
Oh.
By the way, John Redshaw said my Zoom show isn't up on YouTube. Yes, it is. It's the Monday show. Yeah, it's up. Yeah, it's up right now. I just looked to see. So, yeah.
So I just had recently friended. It was like my older brother's friend on Facebook, and you know, my older brother was friends with one of my friend's older brothers, and you know, so they were friends, and then me and his sister were friends. He just posted something today on Facebook saying, I wish Joe Biden hated the Taliban as much as he hates the unvaccinated. And I'm thinking, I just saw a post yesterday from your sister saying how she just got out of the hospital from COVID.
Yeah.
It's like, I just don't, it's like playing a game of Russian roulette, watching the guy next to you blow his head off, and you reload the gun and you keep on playing.
Oh,
I don't get it.
totally.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel to Patrick to a point, because Patrick, you've had the vaccine, right? You know, and I'm at the point too. It's like, you know what? If you dumb fuckers don't want to get the vaccine and don't want to wear a mask, well, go fuck yourself then, because you're
by
pretty
the way,
hard.
let me say fuck you to all of you. I've had 3 vaccines.
Yeah, you got the booster.
I got the booster.
I'm jealous. I want the booster.
So,
I'm waiting
well,
for
go
that.
down and tell them you've got some kind of condition.
I tried to get the
You got
booster,
3.
but I couldn't get it yet.
I 3.
I'm going to get needled up. I want to get double vaxxed, I think, soon, too. I don't care.
Well, it's kind of like, you know, what they say. He used to go out with a woman, and I brought 2 bags. I put them both over her head in case the first one broke.
One
Yeah.
over hers and one over mine in case hers falls off.
Or the joke was something like that, yeah. But anyway, the thing is that it's you know, I just think that, I mean, I know where Patrick's coming from. I mean, he's vaccinated, and he just goes, okay, I've done my part. Now you do your part, and if somebody's going to get infected and wind up in the hospital, it's going to be somebody who isn't vaccinated who goes to this place to get their car lubed, right? That's your basic feeling on it, and that you leave it up to the individual to decide. But the thing is that we've been trying to wipe out this disease in this country, and we are not wiping it out because not everybody is getting vaccinated. You know, if just everybody would get back, I'll tell you, if anybody who's watching who's on the edge, that's like one of 10 people here, but if you're watching and you're thinking about whether you should get it or not, I mentioned to Marjorie yesterday after we got the shot, I said, did you feel anything? She said, no. You know, I mean, afterwards our arm hurt a little bit later on in the day, and we felt puny for about a day, but that was it, you know. But so far as getting a needle jabbed in your arm, you wouldn't even know it went in.
That was what my mom said. She said, I went home, I took that Band-Aid off, and I had to look because I didn't believe I even got a shot.
Exactly. I mean, it's a very small needle, and they don't even have to push it. It just goes right in, just very easy.
I'll say my arm was, you know, sore for 2 days after both of them.
Mine's still sore.
But it was hurting bad, but mine was weird. It was after the first one. The very next day, I was knocked on my ass for like the first half of the day.
Really, I wasn't knocked out the first time. The second time, I was a little
Second
bit,
one,
and Marjorie really knocked out. This time, it knocked me on my ass. People saw me last night. You know, I had had trouble sleeping the night before, and my legs were aching like I had the flu. But you know, it's not a small price to pay for the immunity you get from it. And I understand now that I've had the 3rd shot, the immunity even goes higher.
Yeah, you're in a good percentile now. I was reading on that.
That it's considered pretty decent, and plus you know, the variant is not a big problem here. Josh said the last time you finally got yours, right, Josh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you?
Oh, it was a while.
Huh?
I knew that was a while, so I was doing a little hand clap.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he did it when it was convenient, when somebody was around to give it to him, right? What did they do? Give it to you at work, or was it a pharmacy down the street, or something like that?
There's a pharmacy nearby, and I had the second round today, but I mean, I stopped in too just so that you know, I told you guys the other night that I had to go to a doctor for that one deal I've got going on, and I mostly just didn't want people to ask me over and over again if I've been vaccinated, and every time I say no, I have to fucking listen to their shit for 20 minutes.
So peer pressure worked?
Peer pressure worked.
They would fucking shut up.
Well, the thing is that when I first got my first shot, I had to wait in line for 2 hours, and there was a line all the way around the block, and it was only places that the city had vaccination sites and so on. Now you can just fall out of bed and be somewhere that's going to be able to put a needle in your arm. Most pharmacies have the capability of doing it, And that's where we went yesterday. We said, "The hell with it." You know, we were there. I don't think there are any. I don't know of any more city things that are out there. It's just anywhere you want to go, and it doesn't cost you a penny.
Yep.
All insurances cover it, and there's no reason why people shouldn't get it. Let's wipe this thing out.
Because the government's telling me I have to get it, so I'm not going to get it, even though I'm a patriot.
Yeah.
They're trying to sue. I heard. Is it true that the RNC is suing Joe Biden? They're trying to put a lawsuit on him for the mandate for federal.
Yeah, and
I don't think it's the RNC. Isn't it just a lot of Republican governors?
A lot of
I think there's
Republican
like 13
governors,
so
but
far.
and I heard they said they ran this past a group of just lawyers. Period. Didn't matter where their political bent lay, and asked them if such a suit would work, and they said no.
Can I ask a
You know, he
question?
has the right. He has the right to do things which, in an emergency, take care of a public who's in danger.
You know what I would tell Rand Paul and these guys who are even thinking that? Weren't they behind warp speed? So what was the whole idea of being behind warp speed? We get the vaccine, it's FDA approved, and now they want to sue the guy.
Well, because
he wants to pass a federal mandate if you work in a federal job. I mean, they were behind it.
What's the answer, Tony? You know the answer to that.
It's basically they just want to go against anything he says, really.
Well, it was Trump. You know,
Yeah.
he when he did warp speed, we're all for that.
We're all for it. Now it's out. It's FDA approved. Let's sue them now because they got to make it. We can't.
Not Biden's forcing us to take it.
Yeah, only for federal jobs. I mean, it's almost like they're so stupid.
Well,
it's so obvious.
Look, I agree. It's a voluntary thing. Nobody's going to make you stick your arm there and have somebody jab it if you don't want them to.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to think about the greater good of you and your neighbor. And what's the downside? What's the upside? And the downside is more people get sick. You ready for this? 250,000 children under the age of 14 have COVID. Wow. And of those, how many they say died?
I don't know the exact numbers.
150 or something like that. But children are dying of it now. And before, remember, Trump said, kids, it doesn't matter. They're immune to this. No, they're not.
Hey, can I ask you a question too, Alex? With the whole, you know what I was thinking of when he was trying to, he's trying to pass the mandate for federal jobs. When you were younger, right? Say people like me. I remember when I went for a supermarket job years ago. We never had a drug test. Now, for any job, you have to pretty much have a drug test. Now, how come we're not up in arms about that?
Yeah, that is something that I questioned a long time ago. I think I think they should be more yelling and screaming
more pissed about that.
About drug tests, because what your drugs are in your body. Forget about the stuff you might be taking it illegally, but they don't only test for, cocaine and marijuana and heroin. They also test for any drug that's in your body, and if they give you a test, they can find out every drug that's in your body, and the only person who should know about most of those drugs is your doctor.
Yeah, I mean, see, that's what I'm saying. I would be against that. I'd be more pissed about that, taking drug tests.
I've always been against drug tests, and not because I'm pro-drug, which I am, but I just think that there's something very wrong with that, But that isn't helping the public safety. That isn't because there's a danger to the public involved in you doing drugs. There is a danger to the public in you not having a vaccine. Yes, Jason.
So that's where I've loved with my arguments, like with, sorry to blanket people, but Republicans throughout my life, anytime I sit there and I disagree with them, they tell me I'm not an American, I'm anti-American, and if you don't like it, leave, and blah, blah, blah. And now I like to use the same talking points to come back at them and say, your country, America, is asking you to do something to help, and now you're saying no. Don't ever fucking tell me you're a patriot ever again.
There was a time in this country, and you might want to comment on this, Patrick, when your country asked you to do things, and everybody got together and did them. Mm-hmm. World War II, perfect example. turn all your scrap metal in and so on so we can make airplanes. And people got together and had all kinds of drives and things like that because it was the patriotic thing to do. It was being an American.
Patriot bonds.
Hey, hey, what about John F. Kennedy? Ask not what you can do, but what you can do for your country. They can't even put a fucking mask on.
But that was minor.
Right? Don't even get the needle. Can you put a mask on?
That was minor compared to what we did in World War II. I mean, the country rallied, and to be patriotic.
And that's
too much freedom. I hate to say too much freedom.
I would love to try to come out with some type of advertisement campaign saying, we were asked to do this. We were asked to die for our country. We were asked to put on food rations. We were asked to do this. We're just asking you to get a shot.
Yeah,
they didn't. I would even say just wear the mask. In the beginning, it's like before the shot, they didn't. A lot of them don't even want to wear masks.
But I even have guys who are former military, and they sit there and talk about, oh yeah, I don't even know what the shots they were giving me. They just line you up and boom, boom, both sides, and make you go out there sit doing push-ups. We didn't even ask. We were doing our duty, blah blah blah. But now your country's asking you and not forcing you, and now you're saying no, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, when you were in the military, if they wanted to give you a shot, you goddamn well took the shot,
and then went and did 20 push-ups afterward.
Exactly.
But you know what's funny? It's like you said, Alex, too, the other day. These people will take, when you see the drug commercials for Viagra and all these other drugs, if you take this, it can have a side effect. So they'll pop all these other pills and not worry about it. But holy shit, don't take the vaccine.
Yeah, well,
I got to get that hard on for an hour, but God forbid I take the vaccine and, save my life.
We were talking
about take the horse dewormer first.
Brian,
no, give me the football players. All right. I don't want to take the vaccine, but I'll shoot steroids in my brain like a Lyle Alzado, and I'll take that needle to go on the field. But I didn't take that vaccine, Colby. You don't do that, but you shoot yourself up with every drug to get on that field.
Okay, calm down.
But don't give me the vaccine.
Calm down. But Brian and I were talking about this last night. He has several kids, and they all go to school. And your kid can't go to school unless they have certain flu shots, right? Certain measles shots and things like that.
Even when they were in COVID, when they were virtual home, Stephanie was missing one of her Tdap or whatever that one is, and so she had to have that done before she can go back. But it was even virtual. They were reminding us to make sure before she comes back. So really asking parents to get their kids vaccinated against a disease that's very prominent right now is not a terrible thing for them to do, right? Yeah. What's changed since the 40s? Since the war, and yeah, they were stopping everything. They even stopped car manufacture for 1 or 2 years. Yeah. It's like I think a lot of greeds come in where nobody would stop what they're doing to help the country anymore. Everyone's too greedy.
Yeah.
This whole pandemic has brought out the two different parts. It's not really Republican or Democrat. It's the people who have a me or a we attitude.
Yeah.
Well, I think, I understand where Patrick's coming from, because Patrick is a conservative, and he says, you tell me if I'm wrong, Patrick, but you pretty well feel that it's up to the individuals to want to do this and to do this on their own, and for people not to tell them what to do, right?
Yeah, and I think that President Biden overstepped by doing a government mandate. I think private businesses have every right to mandate within their business, whether it's 2 people there, 100, 1,000, whatever. That's part of, that's up to them. But I think a government mandate is a little bit much.
Okay, let me ask you this. What if I work for a company and the company said, okay, well, I'm not going to mandate vaccinations, all right? And I work for that company and I go, well, then I'm not coming to work because I don't want to be put in danger of getting it. Does he have the right to fire me?
You have the right not to work there.
No, does he have the right to fire me if I say I will not come into work until it's a safe working
Well, I
environment?
would assume at some point, yeah.
And where does
if-
where does OSHA come into this? In
What
safety in the is OSHA for safety in the workplace.
Well, if that's what I'm saying with it, if it's not a government mandate, OSHA has nothing to do with it.
I think OSHA is supposed to be in charge of making sure that workplaces are
Safety in the
safe.
workplace.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's still your choice.
Well-
Nobody's forcing you to work there.
No, but well,
they could
economics
fire them.
are forcing you to work there. You don't want to lose a job.
Yeah.
Well, you can get vaccinated.
Well,
It-
wait,
it's-
OSHA requires me to wear a hard hat, and I don't want to wear it.
I mean, just because I get. By the way, just
If
because.
it's part of your job, you have to do it. And if it's not, I mean,
Okay, but
this isn't rocket science.
I wouldn't say that the vaccination is 100%. You know, they say that 1 out of every 11 people who wind up in the hospital with COVID are unvaccinated. So a certain amount of the vaccinated population is getting sick. And they're getting sick because they came into contact with other people who hadn't been vaccinated. Okay, so then I'm going to say to myself, well, look, I don't want to go to that job because I'm going to come down with this. Then I'm going to bring this home and spread it to my kids and to my wife and to my family, and I refuse to go to work there until that workplace is safe. You know, yes, Jason.
So me and my boss just had this kind of conversation today. He was actually starting to become more pro-vaccine because he was looking at the boosters and the science behind it. But then I think all the other, right-wingers started getting to him, and now he's all anti-vax again. But I had to bring up to him, it's like, where do your rights stop? We're in America. You're an American.
Well, your
you
right
have all these
stops
rights.
where my nose
They
begins.
stop when they start to infringe on somebody else's rights, right?
Well, they said
Yes,
the old saying was, "Your rights stop where my nose begins."
Correct. And I asked him, I said, so why can't you go out and get freaking plastered and drunk and get in your car? Isn't that your right? No, of course not. Because, you might kill somebody else.
Oh, but wait a minute.
Well, the same thing with this, if you're not wearing your mask, you're not getting vaccinated, you put other people in danger.
But I think the question is, why aren't these same people fighting against mandatory drug tests at work?
It's not political.
I mean, I don't know if it's your job you have to have a mandatory drug test.
I think any union job you have to
Wait a
take
minute,
it.
hold on, Tony. I don't. Do you have that at your job?
Oh, yeah.
Jason, is mandatory drug test?
Yeah.
Well, then what's wrong with mandatory testing? What's wrong with mandatory?
There's plenty of
inoculation?
jobs out there that require you to get vaccines anyway. Any type of nursing job, you work in a hospital, you're required to get a flu shot every year.
Yeah.
That's been normal for years. So why don't they this is another flu shot. Okay, yes, it's new. Okay, I'm sorry you're scared.
Well, your kids.
Because that's all it is. It's that these people are scared to get it. But millions of people have already gotten it. Get over it. Suck it up. Go out there and get your shot.
Brian, your kids have to be inoculated against the flu every year, right? In order to go to school?
No, not flu.
Not
Not
flu.
They had the other tests, but
Yeah.
but they got vaccine right when they could.
What do you think about the legalities of this Supreme Court Justice, Josh?
About what is it?
Just about Biden's ability to be able to dictate that companies over 100 have to have everyone vaccinated, and that he can do it for the military. He can do it for any federal jobs. That's for sure he has the right to do. But what about him just generally mandating this?
He can.
I think they're going to have some trouble with that. I mean, I think it's certainly a stretch. I mean, I don't think that it necessarily meets OSHA's, mission in a lot of ways for the particular job-related hazards that they were set up to enforce and police. And a lot of the other regulations that OSHA enforces, etc., I think people should have to remember, such as, OSHA makes me wear a fall protection harness when I'm above 4 feet, and I don't like that. I shouldn't have to do that, etc., is a legitimate thing. But you should also remember that those regulations were not mandated by a single person. Those regulations were written by Congress. That, only Congress has the power to change OSHA's regulations and mission. So the president is in charge of the federal government, and he can mandate enforcement, policies and priorities and things like that to federal agencies, but he doesn't always have the power to change what their policy is. So OSHA is governed by, Congress, and a change to OSHA's mission or regulations in almost all cases will take an act of Congress, and we haven't had one. So that's why I say that it's a stretch, and they're going to have some trouble with it. I think that what we're having here is a lot of people that are okay with it because they agree with the policy. Okay, but I don't approach things personally in that way. I don't care if I agree with the policy or disagree with the policy. I care about whether or not the person trying to do it actually has the power to do it. Because if I look the other way because I disagree, because I agree, who's to say that next week or next month or next year or 10 years from now, there will be a policy that gets by the same way that I don't agree with. So I don't look at it that way. I mean, I understand, some people might like that. And I saw Jason laughing a minute ago when I said something about, that's OSHA's mission. But that's what I'm saying is, but OSHA's those regulations were not, you don't have to wear a fall protection harness above 4 feet because President Carter decided so, and he wrote that down. You have to do that because the House of Representatives and the United States Senate and their subcommittees that govern OSHA wrote a regulation and a law, and then they voted on it, and then it went to a president and it was signed into law, just like any other law. And changes to those are required to be done through that process. And I think that we're operating a little bit outside of that process. I mean, OSHA's mission is to regulate from workplace hazards. This is a national concern, not necessarily a workplace hazard. I understand that there could be sick people in the workplace, but it's not organically grown from the workplace. I'm not saying it's not going to have a positive effect, or it's not, I mean, all that is beside the point. And if the courts look at it, that's their job too. Their job isn't to look at it as if it will, keep you from getting this. Their job is to look at it is the person who said that, were they allowed to say that? So, I mean, that's the way I would look at it. I just, it's very iffy.
Well, I think we have what we have going on right now is, I would imagine, the first time in history we've had to face this kind of problem with this kind of magnitude, okay, and this amount of lethality. I think we don't know how to handle it.
Can I interrupt you right there, Alex? Because you might have been through this before. How did they treat polio?
Polio was different. Yes, Jeff, you want to answer that one? Wait, turn on your microphone, Jeff.
When I was third grade, teachers said, everybody in the class, we're going downstairs. Well, for, I don't know, just do whatever the teacher tells you to do. You get down there, and guess what? Everybody's on a line. Polio, first injection. Come back, I don't know, a month later, get it shot again. Of course, eventually they didn't even have to make an injection.
Yeah.
They could have you eat something.
Yeah, there was the sugar cube.
Right.
It was the same.
At that point, it was just they wanted to prevent polio.
Well, I think the greatest fear that
Did Congress pass that law, or did the president make them do it?
Nobody made anybody do it. Everybody was rushing to get it because parents were watching kids in their neighborhoods come down with a debilitating disease from which they couldn't walk. They had to have braces on. They saw kids in iron lungs, and they were afraid that for their child. I mean, every parent in America was mortified by this disease.
And that's just what goes back to what I was saying before. Like, I just keep on thinking it's just a lot of these people are going to have to see it too close and personal to them. And then before they realize, maybe I need to get vaccinated. But this guy, his sister, just got out of the freaking hospital and he's still preaching all his anti-vax stuff.
What I'm saying is that with polio, you didn't have the component where, for instance, how do you prevent polio? Well, the answer was the answer. Would you please turn your audio down there, Ray? Okay. The problem was with polio. The difference with polio was you couldn't wear a mask to prevent it. We didn't know what caused it, but it certainly wasn't person-to-person communication of this disease. Here we have a case where somebody can breathe on you and you've got it, and the level to which you're going to have it and whether it's going to kill you or not is a crapshoot. You don't know. At my age, or Jeff's age, we're probably goners if we get it,
Not that you got your third shot.
Well, now that I got my third shot, we don't know what the third shot will do. All I know is I have more protection than any of you, okay? But what does that say?
How about when you were a kid during the Spanish flu?
Don't say me Spanish. That's what my mother would say.
Well, we wore. Listen, you will.
Gotta be in
Have
Massachusetts,
you seen pictures
right?
of people during the Spanish flu?
Yeah.
They're all wearing masks.
Mm-hmm.
They're at baseball
After
games.
a while, they realized it.
Yeah, but there was no trouble getting people to wear masks during that. Ray, you've got your audio up again. I think it's got to be you, because you're only new one.
I don't hear anything here.
Well,
It's weird.
Well, do you have? Is the browser up? Or I don't know. Hey, Jack, are you there?
I'm right here, but my browser is not up. But I did hear you talking about what we're going through right now. And my dad had an older brother who died during the Spanish flu.
Mm-hmm.
And he was never, ever over that.
Wait a minute. Now we have that audio's coming back again. I don't know. Anyway.
We're trying to deal with it.
Yeah. Anyway, keep going, Jack.
Well, anyway, I remember when I was 10, 11 years old, my dad telling me that he was, just a little kid when his older brother died in the 1918-1919 Spanish flu. And if you take a look, there's stories.
Wait a minute. Hold on 1 second, Jack. Just to see if it's you or not, Ray. Just mute yourself.
He is muted.
I have been muted the whole time. It's
it's been muted. Yeah.
I have been muted.
Well, hold on a second. Let me just do something here, and let's see if that stops it. Okay, go ahead, Jack. Continue.
Well, anyway, like I said, I was about 11, 12 years old when he started telling me about his brother dying in the 1819 Spanish flu, and he was probably about 5 when his dad died, rather when his older brother died. And, he never got over that loss. And then as I started reading about the Spanish flu, yes, there were mandatory wear mask orders issued because they figured out rather quickly that this was something they could do. And the interesting thing is the Spanish flu is really the wrong name for this thing. It started at a military base in Kansas.
Yep.
And it got called the Spanish flu because the U.S. government hid what was going on, and the Spanish newspapers in Spain carried the story.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Ray, by the way, because you were the last guy to come on and all of a sudden the audio started doing
No,
that.
it's fine. I understand. Yeah. I understand why you thought it was me. I'm hearing it too, and whether I'm muted or not, I still hear it.
Yeah. Anyway, so the fact is, Jack, that you're quite right. It started here in Kansas, I think, on an army base in Kansas.
Army base in Kansas.
And then when we sent people over there to fight that war over there, they took it with them, and then it went crazy. Okay.
Fort Riley, Kansas, if memory serves me right.
Yeah, the only difference is in what was happening then and what's happening now is back then, if that same flu existed right now, we might not be nobody might be dying of it. Mainly because we just didn't have the medicine to solve it back then. We didn't have the antibiotics, we didn't have all the things that we can do to people. We certainly don't have vaccines. Didn't have vaccines back then. But do you know how fast that Spanish flu died?
Overnight, practically.
Overnight. Like on a Monday they had it, and then on Tuesday nobody was getting it anymore. And nobody can figure out why it disappeared.
I thought it took like 3 years to get rid of it.
No. I mean, it was going for 3-4 years, and then all of a sudden on a Monday it was here, and on a Wednesday it was gone.
But we still have some diseases that can kill a lot of people, and I suspect that the same jackasses that say, my body, my decision, would say it even then, say if we had the Black Death come back.
Yeah, and sorry, right there I had to jump in. That my body, my decision, do they say the same thing about abortion?
Of course not.
No.
Of course not.
No, the same people in Texas who are making laws against abortion, making it harder for women to get abortion, are the same people that are saying, hey, my body, don't touch with it. You can't put a vaccine in me or require me to get a vaccine or to wear a mask. So, I mean, I don't know. Let's have a certain, consistency in thinking, and then I'll say you have your right to feel how you feel. But, if I ask a person about getting a shot and they say, no, absolutely not, I have a right not to take that shot, I have a right not to wear a mask. Okay, what do you think about abortion? Well, I'm against it.
And I'm against providing college education. I'm against providing assistance to families that don't have good economic resources. I think the damnedest thing.
Basically, why don't we start referring to your Texas legislature as the American Taliban?
No, hey, I'm all for it.
He hates people.
Hey, one of the things that's being talked about in some women's groups that I'm aware of is they're proposing that women have a labor walkout.
Really?
Yes. Do what they do in Europe. Let's, if you want to change something in America, you got to mess with the money.
I thought you meant they weren't going to go into labor.
No. Good line, though. Good line, Alex.
You know what I find just so ironic is like the Republicans, they care about the fetus so much. While you're in the womb, they care about you.
And
when you're out of the womb,
you're on your own.
Well, they always talk about how pro-life they are, yet let there be some 17-year-old kid in jail, and they want to execute him.
Yeah.
Well, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I'm pro-life. Where I'm concerned, the woman I know gets pregnant, I'd like her to have the baby. I would hate to see the baby get aborted. She has the right to do anything she wants to, but I would prefer she didn't. That's where I'm pro-life. But I'm not pro-life where somebody else is concerned. That's their decision to make.
Yeah, that's a good point, yeah.
And all I'm saying is I'm not going to stop somebody from getting an abortion because they want it. Okay.
What I find is interesting is when these Taliban pro-lifers start talking, they say, well, those children can be adopted. Let me tell you what happened with me and Donna.
Nobody wanted to adopt the two of you?
No. Donna had children. Now, I've never had kids. And when we got married 34 years ago, we seriously talked about adopting someone because, we had reached a point in life where we were financially secure. We could give a kid a better chance than her two kids when she had them back when she was 18 and 20 years old. Mm-hmm. And we felt like we ought to do something. We tried to adopt. I was 43 years old and was told I was too old to adopt.
Really?
Yeah. Now, this is something I don't normally talk about, but we told the Dallas County agency that handles most of the state adoptions, we will take a kid that is older. A black male child past 6 or 7 years old has no chance of being adopted. So we said we'd take a kid that was older. We'd take a kid that had disabilities or learning defects, and they still would not let us adopt. The way we wound up raising a kid was Donna's daughter and her husband, her first husband, broke up, and she had never wanted this kid in the first place. And she said, "Here, take this kid."
Hold on a second. I just want to turn this down here for a second to try and stop it from slapping back. Yeah, we're kind of slowly running out of time here. But I mean, we talk about this every night, and we're never going to solve this problem in this country. We're going to have COVID is going to be with us for the next 20 years. If these people don't want to do their part to stop it. That's all there is to it. Now, they can do anything they damn please. You're right, Patrick. They have the right to say, I don't want a vaccination. But on the other hand, I think if they don't, we're going to be with this for a hell of a lot of time. And it's only going to get worse because we're going to get more variants because we didn't stop it now. And those variants are going to come hot and heavy over the years to the point where I don't care if I have my 10th inoculation. It's not going to get
a booster every week.
Yeah, get a booster every week.
Whatever happens, doing things for the good of mankind, doing it for the good of the public.
It's a matter of just doing your part.
By the Whatever happened to that?
Yeah, Charlie, you didn't have baseball tonight, or you did, but you got off early?
My last game ended early, so.
Oh, okay.
He's in mourning from the game last night still.
Baseball is your life.
Look at who's with us. Wait a minute, look at who's,
football.
Look at who's with us. It's the poster child for the Ramble.
Adrian, do you have your vaccination? Yes or no? Huh? Yes or no? Adrian, yes or no?
I don't know.
Yes, you know. So when we go into the store, what do you have to do because you don't have a vaccination? I gotta practice this with her more. What do? Do you wear a mask? Do you wear a mask? Yes. Why?
People are gross.
So you don't get coronavirus.
So you don't get coronavirus. Good job.
I see. Very good. Bravo.
We'll practice more next time.
Does she
get that kid an agent?
Does she have a really cool mask?
Yeah, she's got a couple. She had one really cute one, Piggy with the ears and stuff, and I don't know where that one went, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well, here's why it's so important for her to wear that mask. The grandchild that we raised, who's now 32 years old, has 4 kids of her own. As soon as, and she lives in Minnesota.
Yeah.
As soon as it started circulating in the suburb that she lives in, the whole family had COVID-19.
Boy. Right. Well, anyway, you better get going because you've got a show to do.
Oh, that's right.
And I've got.
Are you going to pay me the same amount that you paid me last week?
The check's in the mail.
When are you going to come on before so it's not as late?
Talk to my Hefe. Talk to, my Sinatra. This is his clan.
Yeah, he can have this shift, and I'll go on at 6 o'clock at night. I don't know.
It'll be your lead-in.
Works for me.
Yeah. Anyway, hey, listen, everybody. Thank you, Jack. We appreciate it. Say goodbye to you before you go away. Jeff, thank you.
Jason, yes, I have your name, Jason. Jeez almighty. And thank you, Jason. I appreciate it. Josh, thank you for joining us tonight. I'm out of it right now. Brian, thank you. And hey, Adrian, good night, honey. Night, darling. Okay. Is she playing with a keyboard of some sort there now?
Yeah, more games than I know how to play.
Okay. And Patrick, great seeing you again tonight. You really helped the discussion a great deal. I appreciate it. Tony, thank you. Thank you, Charlie. And Ray Renati, thank you very much. Oh, boy, I'm out of it. But I'll be with it starting next week again. Give a big wave goodbye, will you? And I'll give a big wave goodbye back at you, okay? There they go, ladies and gentlemen. That's the Citizen Panel. Okay, and Jack is next. He's here with a little program called The Intersection. He'll be taking your calls on Skype and using GabNet Live as the number you call. You just put in GabNet Live into your Skype. And if you don't have Skype, get that in there too, so you can call Jack every night. I'm gone until next Monday when we do the Zoom show, the show I call the Pop-Up, and that's at 4 o'clock on Monday. And then we'll be back with the Ramble again on Tuesday night, 10:30 Eastern Daylight Time, same station in life. In the meantime, as always, if you see her, tell her I love her, okay? And please, listen to what we were talking about. Get vaccinated, or if you don't, then wear a mask. Do your part, okay? Bye, everybody.